So I just want to say that really makes my show look really cool. That I somehow facilitated your performance there. That was really incredible.
You did write that one, right?
Yeah. I was instrumental in that one. So Owen, you want to chat for a little bit here?
Yes, let's chat.
So tell us about your new setup that you were discussing before. Like, how is this different than what you normally do, and what does it help you to do? What is the goal you intend to achieve with the new setup?
Well, I can tell you that everyone in the world always says that they're inspired in some way by Arthur Russell. But I don't know anybody who actually makes music that sounds anything like Arthur Russell, with the exception of Craig Dunsmuir. You're here tonight. Good work, Craig. But I was reading this thing where he was talking about World of Echo and how he wanted the record to sound like you were moving through environment to environment in this changing, shifting thing. And I was like, that's beautiful. And I hear what he's doing on that thing, right? So on that album, World of Echo. So it suddenly, I saw this piece of gear, this little matrix mixer thing, and it just suddenly occurred to me that I could compose these sets and just, as I play and do my loops, program it to kind of adjust them and change them as I played. So it would sound as if we were moving from a cavern to a tight space to somewhere outside or something like that, you know. So change the environments as the song goes on. So that was the whole thing.
Well, as we were listening to that, that was actually the first thing that came to mind, Arthur Russell. Like I pictured that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we sound similar. He's got a really beautiful voice.
So do you, Owen.
I'm just drinking this non-alcoholic beer, trying not to have a coughing fit on stage, basically. Yeah, but yeah, thank you.
I want to actually take it all the way to the very, 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 very beginning. I have a question. How old were you when you first started playing violin?
I was 3.
You're 3 years old?
Yeah, I was 3.
How is that fucking possible?
Well, my older brother had started the cello when he was 5. So by the time he was 8, and he'd been doing it 3 years, my parents asked me if I wanted to start an instrument. And I said I wanted to start the violin when I was 3. So I started when I was 3. But this interesting thing that is not on my Wikipedia page is that I had the same teacher from when I was 3 to when I was 17, which is really unusual, like really, really weird. But because I had started so young and because I was practicing a lot, I was rising through the ranks of the repertoire and playing some really top level shit. But because I only had the one teacher, I was also developing cripplingly unfixable technical problems because of the idiosyncratic nature of her pedagogy.
Who is this? What is her name?
Well, her name is Ninel Bard, and I love her, you know. But by the time that I was ready to go to university, I had this sideways vibrato and a bow arm that wasn't right. And I came down to audition, and they just kind of laughed at me. And they were like, how is it that you're playing these big concertos, but you don't have a proper vibrato? So, but it's okay, because, you know, I mean, I'm happy with where I am. And if I had a good vibrato, then who knows where I'd be.
Well, you'd probably be playing in like a Philharmonic orchestra or something. Like
I might be on strike somewhere.
Is that the reason why you ended up making pop music versus being a classical musician purely?
I don't think I really knew that I wanted to make pop music until the Hidden Cameras happened in 2001, 2002. And when I joined them, and I was like, oh, I think I kind of understand this a little more. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy pop music, I just never thought of myself as being able to do it or capable of doing it.
I was going to ask you about the Hidden Cameras, because it seems like that group, it was a very significant thing for you. So for those of us who don't know, tell us about the Hidden Cameras, what they mean to you and what they mean to Toronto.
Well, it was just this weird thing that kind of happened when Joel Gibb showed up with a whole bunch of like 10 really amazing songs, and then got 4 people, and then 7 people, and then 12 people, and then 30 people to be on stage with him, banging them out. So then it sounds like kind of like a larger Velvet Underground, Bell and Sebastian, hybrid thing. And it really worked, and it was really beautiful. And then he didn't write any other good songs for a very long time. And so people kind of lost interest in the band. He's writing really good ones again, though. You guys should check out the last couple of Hidden Cameras releases. They're amazing. But yeah, and it was just this, it seemed like suddenly this thing was possible, because at the time I don't know outside of Sloan and Eric's trip signing to Sub Pop if there were any real like success stories of Canadian bands, that actually were kind of like popular outside of Canada. I guess maybe New Pornographers had just kind of come around that time. But yeah, so suddenly it seemed like everything was possible, and everybody who was in the Hidden Cameras would go off to start their own band. Paraphrasing another quote, with the Velvet Underground, I guess. But yeah, so we all just kind of went forth and multiplied, and here we are, hundreds of records in.
And who were some of those musicians?
Well, I mean, you have to mention Steve Cato, in Barcelona Pavilion and The Blanket, and Maggie McDonald, who was also in Barcelona Pavilion and went on to form Republic of Safety, and then Betty Burke. Gentleman Reg, who for years was pursuing that solo project band, and then an actual solo project, Light Fires, under Regina, now Regina Gently. Who else we got? Oh my gosh, Mike Olson, who's kind of like my cellist partner in crime, who made music for years as our founders and is continuing to do so. And now is putting out solo records on Hand Drawn Dracula, which are amazing. Do I keep going?
You don't have to name everyone.
This is like, I'll have to pull out the Discogs article.
But I mean, this is significant because this is a group, a bit of a super group, a roaming kind of community of a band, which was not like a thing before that, really. And then you have, your broken social scenes. And then somehow you end up affiliated with another similar group like this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think both Kevin Drew and Wynn Butler have been really vocal about the fact that the projects that as they pursued them were highly influenced by Hidden Cameras at that time. Wynn in particular was very clear, like Arcade Fire was taking a lot from Hidden Cameras, and has always respected Joel for that, and Kevin too, I'm sure.
And so, in these old early 2000s days, how did you, an individual from Mississauga, end up a part of the Arcade Fire? How did you get into that whole Montreal scene? Like, how did that actually happen?
I was playing with a Jim Guthrie quintet, and Jim...
Shout out Jim Guthrie.
Yeah, shout out Jim Guthrie. With Mike Olson, also from Hidden Cameras, and Evan Clark of Rocket Fred Glare, and Castro, and Blake, and Simon Osborne, also of Royal City. And we were playing some shows opening for Arcade Fire Arcade Fire were opening for Jim Guthrie because Tim Kingsbury was friends with Jim. And Wynn and Regine were just like, will you and Mike come and be our string session? And we were actually the second string session. I think they had the Godspeed players, Sophie and some of those guys did Wake Up, for example, and Tunnels. But they had me and Mike come up for the rest of the funeral for their strings. So,
And so, it seems like you had been a part of so many different bands and groups, and it seems like you're just this roving, mysterious violinist and composer, and then you make some music with Arcade Fire, and it fucking blows up.
It's interesting because that's not actually what happened.
Okay. Tell me what actually happened.
Pretty much most of my career as an arranger, an orchestrator, I owe it all to Nico Muley, actually. Because Nico and I had become friends. He liked my solo records, and I played down in New York, and we were hanging out and stuff like this. And Nico had already gotten some really good arranging credits. Like he'd worked with Björk. He did some work on that beautiful Bonnie Prince Billy record, The Letting Go. So Domino Records reached out to Nico and said, "Hey, will you work on this new project with this guy from Arctic Monkeys?" And he said, "No, I'm busy, but you should ask Colin to do it." And so I met with Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys, and we made this Last Shadow Puppets record. And I remember them being like, "Oh, we really like this guy. He's so young." And I was like 27 or 28 at the time. I'm like, "Thanks, chaps." But we made this record with James Ellis Ford as the drummer, who is, of course, super produces everything from the new Pet Shop Boys to the new Blur to, everything. James is now huge. So the four of us did this record together, and it went to #1, and everyone loves it. And it is a really good record, and it was actually from that record that I just started getting so many more contracts coming in. Everybody wanted to work with me after that record. It was more that than Arcade Fire, to be honest. And also, I feel like I did more on Last Shadow Puppets than I did on that Funeral album. Well.
So Last Shadow Puppets is more important than Arcade Fire in the history of music for you?
Just in terms of like how my foot got in the door, you know.
Sure.
I'm not trying to throw Arcade Fire under the bus or anything like that. Just in terms of like actually what bumped, you know, what caused the phone to start ringing. It was really that Last Shadow Puppets gig, for which I have to thank Domino Records and Nico Muley for getting me that.
Word. Well, I think it's amazing how many collaborations came after that. How many your CV is impeccable.
It's broad. It's really long.
There's a lot, you know. You got your Taylor Swift in there. You got some. One I want to hear more about actually is the Frank Ocean.
Oh, that was a really interesting collaboration.
Yes.
That was fascinating.
That was for Provider?
Yeah, I mean, I did a bunch of stuff for him. Mm-hmm. The first thing I worked on was Provider, and I don't even think the version that has the strings on it has actually been released or is available. They may have played it on an episode of what is the radio? Blonded Radio. Yeah, they may have played it on the version Blonded Radio. I know it exists. You've heard it?
I've heard there's like 2 different versions. I've heard it.
Yeah, so there is a version of that has my strings on it. But I did strings and horns for other tracks that, you know, just aren't out because he doesn't put up music. But there was more to that too. Actually, he called me up and he said that he wanted to get string players. So he wanted to have a string orchestra on stage for these 2 shows that were happening in Gothenburg and Helsinki. And I said, that's a week away. And he said, yeah, can you arrange 6 songs and get over to Gothenburg and arrange for the players to be there? And I was like, and arrange for them to all have pickups, arrange for like their accommodations, whatever they're going to wear. And he's like, can we get headshots of the players first? And I said, I don't think so, Frank. And he said, how can we get as many black people as possible?
Oh.
And I said, Helsinki and Gothenburg, Frank. Please, like, so I spent that week, I was sleeping 2 hours a night because I was just plowing through all this arrangement work. And it was so intense. And you might not know this, but I thought that I was dreaming when you said you love. Is that called Ivy?
Yes.
Ivy. Okay, so Ivy had a string arrangement written by Johnny Greenwood, tracked by the orchestra at Abbey Road 2. And Frank says to me, and it's 90 minutes before rehearsal, like rehearsal before the show. And he says to me, I really like that Johnny Greenwood arrangement. Here's the audio. Can you transcribe all 6 minutes of this in the next 90 minutes before the players get here? And I had my computer, and I had my printer, and I had the paper, and I was just like, nobody talked to me. And I transcribed 5 minutes of very dense 8-part Johnny Greenwood writing, like for this arrangement of Ivy. Yeah, but it was crazy. So like this whole week I wasn't sleeping, and I collapsed on the floor just because I was so tired. And Frank came over and started nudging me. Hey, what are you doing? Yeah, but there was something really amazing about being in the same room as him, because he is so obviously fantastically talented. Like, just like he and Buddy Ross would just start riffing on something, and I'd just be like, oh my God, like how is it possible that you're just making music this beautiful just like this? Like it was like, like it might be to be in a room with Stevie Wonder or something. He's very, very talented, but he should work on that.
Can you hit him up and be like, yo, Frank, can you please, we're starving here.
But yeah, no, I've there's 3 songs I worked on. I don't know if they'll ever come out.
I remember you told me you went to Frank's birthday.
Yeah.
Can you describe that experience? Because to me it sounded like the gay Super Bowl.
It was the gay Super Bowl. So I got an invite to Frank Ocean's 30th birthday party, which was a thing, Frank decided he was going to do it all like a drag ball. And so there was like a tennis across the board, that kind of stuff. People doing the competition sort of vibe. So me and my boyfriend at the time flew down to L.A., rented a place in Silver Lake, went up, and it was fun. It was good. The thing that I remember the most was, despite the fact that it was in this beautiful mansion, they decided that they were going to have kind of discreet porta potties outside for people to use the facilities. So there was a little lineup, but it wasn't gross or anything. It was totally fine. But I was in the lineup to use the restroom, and I was standing in front of James Blake. So I didn't see that James Blake was standing behind me. Now, I resemble James Blake sometimes a little bit.
I was going to say, when you guys are standing together.
I've had people at music festivals that we're both playing at, I've had people come up to me and hand me his record to sign it. And so my boyfriend at the time, now ex, he saw us from me standing, and he was just kind of like, and he told me it was just like seeing the taller, more attractive, richer, better version of you in line for the bathroom. I like that too. That was I appreciated that comment. That was funny.
I was going to say, like, you and James Blake standing next to each other, that's like the Spider-Man meme.
We did stand next to each other. At that same festival, I was watching John Cale play, and I look over, and it's just like, oh, it's like, because he's tall, much taller than me. He's 6'4", 6'5". Yeah, it is creepy. But I will tell you, there is a funny punchline. So when I did get that James Blake record, and I went to sign it, I signed "Keep On Not Knowing About Your Dreams," XOJB.
I love that. Owen, we toured together. Owen and I toured together in 2007.
Yeah, with Prince Nifty.
Yes.
Prince Nifty, who co-produced Ms. Columbia, Lito's last record.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned very quickly from touring with you is you have this proximity to the most insane celebs, and it's always very blasé when it's coming from you. And I want to give you an example of this. We were playing a show together in Portland, and you were like, oh yeah, I think my friend Gus is going to come to the show. And then when Gus came to the show, it was Gus Van Sant, which I thought was a bit of an underselling of Gus.
Yeah, and he just had this guy who was with him, who was taking photos constantly, and it was kind of getting on my nerves. because I didn't realize it was Eddie Slimane. Like,
Really?
yeah, that was Eddie Slimane
my
who was with
God.
Gus that night.
I didn't even know that
Yeah.
at the time.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have even known who he was. The most egregious, this happens to me all the time. Like, I went, when I first got to LA, Moses Sumney invited me to his birthday party. And I went there and had this long conversation with somebody, not realizing it was Kalela. And then I went, and then Nick from Unicorns invited me to his birthday party. And I went there, and Alia Shawkat let me in. And so I was, and because they said, yeah, it starts at 8. So I show up at 8, and I'm the only one there. So I'm helping Alia set this place up. And then I have a long conversation with this person, not realizing it was Tim Heidecker, you know?
Right. Right.
Like, and there was another party I went to in New Orleans where I had this long conversation, and then I get in the car, and I'm like, who was that woman? She was so pretty. And I was with Regine, actually, and Regine was like, "Oh, come on, you're lying. What do you mean? It was Katy Perry. Like I've been
Right. Okay.
Like, I'm just like, I don't know.
So
I don't like gaydar. I don't have celebrity
Right,
radar. I don't have
right.
celebrity radar.
Like it sounds like you have face blindness or something.
I don't. I just when you put a. But I do have one funny story.
Tell me.
Because the opposite has happened.
Oh, okay.
Because I was playing a show, opening, I don't remember for what band, but it was really crowded backstage after the main set, and I'm walking down the hallway, and I suddenly see this old friend of mine from high school, and I'm like, oh my God, or was he from university? I don't remember. And I'm walking up, and he makes eye contact with me, and he has this big smile on his face. I have a big smile on my face. I give him a hug. I'm like, so good to see you. It's been so long. Oh my God. And I walk off. And then I realized that he's not somebody I know. It was Seth Meyers. I just, like, I'm just like, oh, him, you, my friend from high school. It's like, no, your friend from the TV. That you see on TV.
But I think this is a really good quality you have, especially for your particular profession, because you don't get phased by any kind of stardom. It's like, okay, I'm going to work with Taylor Swift tomorrow, no problem. Right? Did you ever go in the studio with Taylor Swift to do that?
No, I've never been in the same room as Taylor Swift, as far as I know.
You might have shook hands with her and you didn't realize.
No, I'm pretty sure. I've never. Yeah, no, I've never. No, I was working with the producer of the song, with Jackknife on that thing. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's do a little more rapid fire of your collabs and experiences, like Lana Del Rey you work with. Blue Bannisters.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
It was good. I think I worked on another Lana song. I don't remember. But yeah, I've done some stuff with her. That's through Zach Dawes. Also through Last Shadow Puppets. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Duran Duran. Mm-hmm. Like, it's pretty insane. Did you ever
The Duran Duran session was interesting because we ran it here at 6 Nassau in Market.
Okay.
With Jeff McMurray engineering it. And Drew Jurecka was concertmaster. It was like a really, really fun little kind of homemade Toronto thing. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
So back to when we were on tour together, though, another story I remember when we went for lobster rolls with Ed Drost from Grizzly Bear.
Oh.
That's it. I mean,
that's all I have to say.
I mean, at that time, like, you got to remember, I was just a young boy from Edmonton, and we were in the Big Apple going for lobster rolls with the guy who made Grizzly Bear. You know, I was like, man, I made it. This is crazy. But that's, you don't blink at an experience like that. That's just Owen Pallett's life.
Yeah, I don't know. My mind is mostly like trying to puzzle out why somebody said that thing that hurt my feelings so much 2 weeks ago. To really pay attention to what's actually going on in front of me.
See, I wonder, we're friends, and I always wonder that with you, Owen, because this is the irony of it all, is you are by far the most talented, incredible artist that I've ever met, I've ever encountered, and, I've been in the music industry 20 years now.
You also live in Hamilton.
And I live in Hamilton. So, yeah, it's just me and Jeremy Greenspan going for a sandwich, like, weekly, so true. No, but I just always find that interesting how, you're like, oh, shucks.
when you're so special and such a talented artist. Give it up for Owen.
Thank you, Roland.
Give Owen their flowers now. So let's talk about your solo career here. Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Blocks. What's the deal with Blocks, that label?
Well, Blocks started as just Steve Cato and Mark McLean just wanting to put out some records, and Steve asked to put out the Les Mouches record, and it was, I think, the 5th Blocks release, was their debut EP, Blood Orgy. And then later came You're Worth More Than Me, then 1,000 Christians, and then the first 2 Final Fantasy records. Blocks I think Steve tired of it, and I think part of that came out of the Final Fantasy records suddenly requiring actually a lot of work and generating a lot of income and creating a lot of weirdness and entitlement. Money ruins everything. I had this idea that it was just like, we need to have some successful records so that we can just put out whatever we want, so that every day we send off 100 copies of Beck, One Foot in the Grave, and then we can continue working on these Dub Narcotic records or whatever, just using the K records as a model, because One Foot in the Grave probably sold every other record on K by 10 times, I would assume, So, but then when some records started actually selling off of Blocks, I think Steve lost his passion in the project and incorporated it into a co-op and then left town.
I want to just stick on that, turn into a co-op. Now, I feel like talking to you just about this particular era in Toronto, it's like a bygone Toronto that isn't here anymore. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. This whole idea of like you and your friends, you're starting labels and making co-ops and everybody's in all these bands and there's all these great places to play and stuff. Do you think what your experience was is possible today, the way Toronto is now?
Not in Toronto, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think 90% of the problems that are facing the world can be boiled down to that quotient that you do when you divide the mean income of a population by the mean rent, And it's just like where people are paying more than 2 times as much of their rent compared to their income now as they were in 2004, 2005. It's not tenable. It's impossible.
Is that why all the art's trash now?
Sorry?
Is that why all the art is trash now?
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
I'm joking. Here.
Yeah, no, it's just having this kind of free-spirited, kind of community-focused artistic thing that was happening. It seems to be a lot more difficult now because in Toronto specifically, somewhat more possible in Montreal, where despite the fact that they're saying that there's this rent crisis, this housing crisis, and everything, I'm just like, you guys don't know how bad it got in Toronto and how fast. But yeah, I don't know. Most of my friends my age who had the career arc that I had, they owned property and they got property early, and I did not. I remained a tenant, so I'm still kind of hand to mouth compared to some of my friends. Yeah.
But that's good. You can keep your ear to the street that way. You know what's going on.
I don't know what you're talking about. I wish I'd bought a house.
Plenty of room in Hamilton. So, old Toronto, you make these amazing records, and then you are nominated for the very first Polaris Music Prize, 2006, for He Poos Clouds.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was also nominated for that award. We were on the cover of I Weekly, both of us in kind of a mock confrontational pose.
That was fun.
It was fun. And I was just thinking how it's really emblematic of how the Canadian music media has changed, because I don't think people would be really clamoring to put us both on a magazine cover today.
Well, what's interesting is that aside from iMagazine doing that, there was very little, if any, coverage of Polaris that year. I remember, I think there was an article in Brooklyn Vegan but I don't think it made it into any of the national newspapers.
It wasn't like televised or filmed or anything. Like
No.
it was pretty underground.
And also, everyone was really confused because nobody knew what it was. And in particular, I was really irritated by the fact that there was one sponsor in that first and the second year, and it was Rogers Wireless.
Mm-hmm.
And so I very publicly said that I was going to use the money to start my own award, which was the Rogers Wireless Biggest Tits in Canada Prize. And the Biggest Hits in Canada prize would go to just a band that I liked, and I was going to give them the money to make a record. And I gave it to Rosacea. I don't know if you knew that band.
No.
It was Eugene and Robin Fry, and was it Dave on drums? I forgot who was drumming. Alia on the flute, and John McCurley on bass, and Matt Smith was in it for a while.
That's
yeah,
really...
It's a good record. They never put it out. Those assholes.
They didn't even put out the record? What?
Yeah, I know. I have it on my
Oh,
computer. I listen to it. So,
wow,
so
that is
I'm happy.
crazy. But that just shows me how community-minded you are, that was the thing you were thinking you were going to do with the money, and that's what you did with the money.
I mean, sure, but you can't take money from Rogers Wireless.
But no, actually, in the year 2024, people would be climbing over their own uncle and aunt to get any money from any brand nowadays. That's it's a different time now. People are I've paid Rogers so much fucking money. They should give me some money. That's how a lot of people think, right? They own everything now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could, in good faith, take money from Rogers. I don't know. Maybe there's some dirt on the Slate Family Foundation that I need to know about. But
I mean, hey man, we don't even know. We don't even know. But I think that's an interesting way of thinking. I remember that was similar to how I toured with Islands as well, and they had played a show and it was sponsored by a phone company or something, and they were like, "Fuck Verizon" on stage, and then they didn't get paid for the show in the end.
Really,
which is so it was cool. Like they made a stand and everything, but the phone company didn't pay them. But I don't know. This is actually a discussion a lot of people are having nowadays around awards and us caring about who the sponsors of these arts things are in this day and age. And I feel like you were kind of ahead of the curve there.
No.
No?
No. Very, very, very stuck in the 90s. Very Steve Albini coded or something like, I don't like where this money's coming from. Better give it away. I don't know. But it was weird. I wish I had $20,000 clean from some reputable source. But anyways, yeah, it was just weird. We didn't know what to do with it. We didn't know what it was, and it was also confusing because it was just like, oh wow, it's like here I am, maybe winning an award so that I can look at my friends who are going to lose an award. It was weird to be in competition with you and with Dan Beckner and Broken Social Scene that year. It was weird, and it didn't make me feel 100% comfortable. Subsequent nominations, though, it just became I stopped caring so much. It just became fun party.
But I was just wondering, do you feel like winning that award, it helped you? But did it I asked people, did it change your life?
I don't know. I don't know. I know I've been asked that question before, and I feel like it's rude of me not to say, yes, it was amazing, but I actually don't know. I don't know because I didn't not win it, so I don't know what the other timeline would look like. But it's not like somebody called me and it was just like, oh, we heard you won Polaris. Here's a new car. Nothing like that happened. I assume there was maybe a bump a couple of years, in Canadian draws or something like that. But no, in comparison to putting all the money and effort into promoting Heartland 6 years later or 4 years later, that was a big change. That was a big shift for sure in the solo career stuff. Yeah.
Is actually, with the Rogers money, that's not the first time you've done something altruistic with some money. I believe there's this company Orange used one of your songs. Do you remember this? And without asking you.
There's the kind of a little bit of a confusion. No, there was Orange Wireless asked if they could use one of my songs, and I said no, and then the label said yes, so they used it anyway.
Oh.
But it's happened also, like, I did a commercial, I did music for a Flora advert because they wanted to use Your Light Is Spent. I was like, that song's kind of personal. Maybe I'll write you a new song. So I wrote them a song that was even more personal, Lewis's Dream, and then they used it in the commercial, and that was fun. But I think what you might be thinking of is that Wiener Stadtwerke, like the Viennese city works, they did a commercial just promoting, we're an amazing city. We have amazing city works here in Vienna. Here's a commercial. And they had put This Is the Dream on that song, on that commercial, and I was like, I don't think so, guys. Please don't do that. So they gave the song to a composer, and he sampled it and changed virtually nothing. Except when it gets, like, it's the same backing track, and the only change is that when it gets to the chorus, which is like, we can get along, he goes, can you feel it? So my booking agent, who's like is a Berliner, she calls the people, and she's actually works in Berliner Stadtwerke. Like she's a engineer. Well, she works specifically for the water company, but she called them up and said we should have a talk about this. And so she convinced Wiener Stadtwerke to give us money to have a festival, a music festival, instead of this. So we brought over like all these bands, and then we were able to do it in Berlin and London as well. So it was great. It was like Dirty Projectors and Deerhoof and Max Tundra and Six Organs of Admittance and God knows, Stephen O'Malley we had Alexander Tucker. It was like really wild. It was like Wire Magazine, the festival, and so yeah, we had that in Vienna with that money.
That's
Yeah,
so
it was
cool.
fun.
It's like
Yeah.
but you facilitated that.
Well,
You got to give yourself some props here.
I got to give props to Susanna, my German booking agent, who also works at the water company.
Yeah, big shout out to Susanna as well.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about a little movie that you made a score for called Her. Yes, give it up. Tell me about that experience, just making, because that was a huge movie, and you were nominated for an Oscar for it.
They had been working on that film for a year, the Arcade Fire, they being the Arcade Fire, and they needed to get things done chop, because it was time to finish the score, go out on tour for Reflector. So they just had me come up and kind of hang around the studio and be a shithead until the score got finished. So there's like some piano stuff I did, some string stuff on it, but it was really a collaborative project. I mean, the only reason that Will Butler and I got our names on that ticket as opposed to all 8 members is because at the time they had only changed it so 2 people could be nominated, and they had done so to accommodate Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. So Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, now you could have 2 names nominated for this role, and then subsequently now bands can be nominated, but at this time they could only put in 2 names. So recognizing that Will and I were going to be the 2 people who were likely going to be doing this stuff for a career, shout out Will Butler, who did, if you guys don't know, he did that Stereophonics Fleetwood Mac musical, won a zillion Tonys, So yeah, they put our name on the ballot.
He's halfway to an EGOT.
Yeah. Well, he didn't actually win a Tony.
Oh, okay.
I know, it was really disappointing because that musical won for many categories it was nominated, but he didn't win in his categories.
Damn.
But he'll win the next one. He's too good a composer to not win eventually.
What was it like going to the Oscars, though?
It's going to just be more stories like.
I need it. This is what we're doing. We're having a conversation. I want to know the stories.
Well, Benedict Cumberbatch bummed a cigarette off me, and I recognize Benedict Cumberbatch. I was like, this guy I know you. But just before Benedict Cumberbatch bummed a cigarette off me, I had been talking to a guy for about half an hour, and he was really nice. I really liked him. He seemed really sweet, and so I mentioned him. I was just like, so what were you at Oscars for? Like, what was nominated? And he was like, oh, our movie was up for a few, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And I didn't know what movie he was talking about. Well, I was talking to Ethan Hawke, and the movie was like the third of the Richard Linklater Before Something series. Yeah. John Legend was playing. I remember that. And I went and watched him for a while, and he does this thing when he solos. He's always soloing in stacked intervals. Like he solos up fifths, and then he's soloing up fourths. And I watched that, and that was really cool. He's a really good, really, really good piano. Really good at soloing on the piano. That's all I really remember. Oh, and I told you my Alexandre Desplat story. That was good.
No, like, well, yeah, say that.
Okay. This is a funny story. I like this story. So, when it comes time for you to, whether or not you're going to win this thing, they bring you over to these boxes at the side of the stage. So, they put me and Will over stage left, and Alexandre was behind us. And then over on stage right, they had Thomas Newman, John Williams, and Stephen Price, who would end up winning, right? So, anyways, we're all sitting there. We all are pretty sure Stephen's going to win. Then they call Stephen's name, and we're all clapping, and Alexandre leans over and claps his hands on both of our shoulders, and he says, "So long, losers."
Did he disappear into a puff of smoke or what?
He is like the Frenchest person you can imagine.
Yeah.
He's got like one of those Roman noses, and his eyebrows are always waggling, and he's got a scarf, and he just looks like this all the time. And in that year, I think it was like probably the 8th year consecutively that he had been nominated, not one. I think he's won twice since then, but yeah, Alexandre Desplat was nominated for so many years before he won. So I don't even know what he won for. I don't watch movies. Anyways.
You just score them.
I just score the ones. I watch the ones I work on, yeah.
Well, so that was a question I was going to have. How is it different scoring a film versus when you're making an album? Like how is that process different?
Well, it's completely different.
Yeah, well, tell me. Not to be so adversarial.
Well, I work with this rig, and I'm building some songs, and then I'm spending 2 hours a day at the cafe frantically free writing to try and come up with something worth singing lyrically, and then that's how an album is made. You know, when I'm making a score.
You go to the coffee shop and just like come up with some words?
Yeah. I drink, like, I'm just chugging coffee and just typing furiously. And then the next day, I'll just read what I wrote and see if there's anything usable. You're
like cramming for lyrics.
Yeah, that's how I write my lyrics.
I wouldn't have guessed like that. No.
Really?
No.
I have some good lyrics that have come out of this method.
You do have some amazing lyrics, yeah.
Yeah. So that's. But when when you're doing a film, it's so administrative. You know, it's just like where it starts, timing, figuring out the instrumentation, setting up a tempo thing. I usually do it all in MIDI first, so it's just all placeholder stuff. And then once we have an agreement on like how this is going to sound, then I'll track it with an orchestra. I'm typically doing orchestra scores because that's kind of my strength. But I have done an all electronic score. I have done an all studio musician score. I've done a couple of those like that. There's lots of ways to do it. But no, making albums for me, because I just do it on my own, it's like really like caffeinated nerdville kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Is there one you prefer over the other?
I love this. I love making albums. Yeah. It's my favorite.
Like, why do you prefer that?
Because I think what motivates me when I'm making a song is really stupid, childish stuff that's so embarrassing to talk about. But I'm just like, man, they're going to love it when they hear this part. Like, when I bring this part in and it does that, people are just they're just going to wet their pants. Like, I get so excited and just thinking about how happy a listener is going to be when they hear this song that I'm writing. Or like, I'll have this lyric, like, so I'll write a line or I'll write a stanza or something, and I'll just be so delighted that I'll be texting all my friends. Like I'm close with John from Mountain Goats, right? So I'll just be like John, look at this lyric that I just wrote today. You know, John writes pages of lyrics every day. Like,
Super
John
lyrical.
is super, super prolific, and they're all amazing. But I'm just like, the first line of this song is, "She's talking to your husband." I'm like, isn't that great? She's talking to your husband. Like, people are gonna shit their pants when they hear that. Like, what she's saying to my husband. Like that's how I get so excited. John's just like, that's a very good first line, Owen.
I love that. I think we're alike in that way. And that actually brings me to something I wanted to do, a little game with you.
Okay.
Because I feel like you have just such a great knowledge of music and an appreciation of music that I think was really well represented when you were doing these articles for Slate, where they would, how would it work? Would they ask you, hey, can you pick a song, or would they suggest a song? Or can you explain it?
Sure. Well, the way it worked was there's a guy named, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Ted Gioia? Gioia? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, with a G.
Really knowledgeable about jazz in particular, sometimes great writer, sometimes terrible opinions. So he was just, he kind of posited, what would music criticism look like if it was written by people who had like a really in-depth knowledge of theory and, and could write and whatever. And I saw that and I was like, it would be so boring. It's so boring. It would be so useless, not interesting. And I was talking about it on Facebook. Like, I was just like, this is such a stupid comment. And I don't remember whose Facebook page it was, if it was Carl Wilson or...
I feel like I'm assuming it was Carl Wilson.
Probably Carl Wilson. And I just improvised on... I think I was waiting for a flight. And I just opened my laptop and I just improvised a theoretical analysis about Katy Perry's Teenage Dream, like while I was just sitting there, and I didn't even have the song on me. I just like was remembering the song and just typing my thoughts on it. And Ann Powers read it. I think it was Ann Powers, and she was just like, well, we should publish this. And then it took off like wildfire, and everyone got mad because I said the song was in C instead of G. It's actually in G, but I wasn't even listening to it. I was just writing this. Other people were just like, didn't get that this was like a very deeply sarcastic but loving thing. Like, it wasn't really meant to be taken seriously. Now there's whole podcasts where people do this. So like, let's break down the theory of, Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan. I mean, you could actually do that.
Yeah.
Pink Pony Club is a heavy song.
Yeah.
That's a good song. But but it's like there's whole podcasts about it. But my feeling about it, like, I wasn't trying to be rude. I thought Ted Joy's suggestion was kind of a little ludicrous, because I want the opinion of people who are good listeners and good writers, not people who are music theoreticians, like when I'm reading my music criticism personally. But I guess other people like to talk about that stuff.
Well, I absolutely loved it. I loved reading these because, I'm also a musician, but I'm not a technical person. I'm not trained or anything. So seeing the way you see these songs and seeing the magic of it, the same little thrill you get when you have a lyric that you know is going to work, or a little part of a song that you know is going to work technically on the audience, I want to demonstrate that here. I call this game Owen Decodes the Hits. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to play a song. Owen, are you excited?
I'm terrified. I'm terrified.
Yeah. So that was 360 by Charlie XCX. I mean, yeah, it was a song. You can clap for it. Yeah, sure.
We love you, Charlie.
So Owen, tell me what you think of Charlie Baby on that song.
I mean, I don't have anything to say but music theory about it, really. Like, what is there to say about it?
It's simple, but there's something about it. There's something about it. Like, it's very economical. It's just like immediate. And is there anything?
I mean, what struck me initially is just that it's interesting that the lyrics in the verse are just entirely focused on the tonic of the chord, and the first chord is one chord, but in the first inversion, you got the third of the chord in the bass, and then it goes up to the 4, and then back to 4, and then back to the 3, 4, 3, 4, and then up to the 5, and up to the 6, which kind of implies that it could be in minor key or the major key. There's this ambiguity there, which is kind of cool, but also when that synth comes in, it sounds more like E minor than C major in first inversion. That's kind of interesting why the synth works. But I mean, what I like about, and like I even texted you, like what I like about Charlie XCX is she writes these pop songs, but her lyrics are like rapper lyrics. Like she doesn't write like a pop songwriter.
That's what I love about her too.
It's just like little, like allusion after like little, like I don't even know what the term is. What do you call that?
I mean, it's like imagistic kind of. What are you saying? Like
it's like when you say I'm doing something like this, and then you say a noun, and that noun is meant to kind of be referencing that in 2 or 3 different ways.
Oh yeah, like wordplay kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She's her entire thing is not about world building; it's about wordplay, and I like that about her. Yeah.
See, that was great.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. See. Okay, let's do another one.
Well, I don't have any. I mean, yes, you have to clap for Chapel Roan. I don't
What
have
a
anything.
song.
She's like already one of my
In
favorite
case you
singers
don't
of all
know,
time.
that was Chapel Roan. Good luck, babe.
Yeah, a
Just
single from this year, and her album from last year is just perfect. She's incredible. She's like my favorite singer. Like, actually, I think her voice. Like, I was trying to think of who she reminded me of, and she's like Christine McVie and Freddie Mercury together, like having a child or something.
And I
Like-
said there was a little Kate Bush in there too.
Yeah, and Kate Bush as well. But I mean, I don't know. There's this aerobics beat. I always think of that as the aerobics beat because it sounds like people are doing aerobics. But what's interesting to me most about that song and Chapel Roan in general is that her productions are very dynamic. They start quiet, like for radio, and get denser and denser and denser, and she plays with it. Like that moment in Pink Pony Club. God, like what you done, Pink Pony Girl, that part.
Mm-hmm.
And then she does it all quiet the third time and then belts it again. It's just like she plays with dynamics so much in her productions, and I think that is why she should always be at number 1.
So
always.
I've got a question for you. Recently I was DJing a birthday party, and I played that song back to back with Dancing on My Own by Robin. And I found they both got the same reaction. Like it was a very cathartic thing, and it was a thing where I think both songs have a bit of longing to them. And I'm wondering if there's something in the composition or any particular chords or something that elicit this feeling of yearning or something.
Did you ever read the Brian Eno diary book?
I have it on my shelf.
Yeah. A Year with Swollen Appendices.
Yeah.
It's one famously where he drinks urine at a certain part. And he's like, I always wondered what urine would taste like, and I'd never tried it, so I tasted a little. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that there's a moment in this book when he's like arguing with the band about whether or not they should do backing vocals. And he calls his secretary and says, can you please do some research this afternoon? I need you to go through every single number 1 single, and if it has backing vocals, put it in, then put a check here, and if it doesn't, put a check there, and go back 5 years or something like that. So he had his secretary do this analysis of like, does it have backing vocals? Does it not have backing vocals? And it came back that 80% of them had backing vocals. So they did follow Eno's suggestion to add backing vocals. Well, we need to tell AI to do an analysis of the order of the chords 1, 4, 5, and 6, and see what context that they most appear in songs about this mood. And we need to do it through the entirety of human history to determine what it is about 1-4-5 versus 1-5-4, and where the 6 fits in there, if it's going to be in there, because all these songs have the same 4 chords. They don't go to 2 or anything like that. That was all 1-4-5. I don't know.
So somebody who listens to this, please
write that program.
Do the prompt for AI and just let us know like what the answer is.
Yeah.
And you actually reminded me of something. You brought up Brian Eno. Brian Eno had some good things to say about you. What did Brian Eno say about you?
He said a few nice things about me. He was really we actually haven't communicated in about 10 years or something like that. Basically since he contributed to In Conflict, but yeah, he was a big supporter of Heartland, and he brought me and Matt and Robbie over to Norway to play this festival, and proclaimed when we got off stage that it was the most marvelous thing he'd seen in many, many years, and it was really lovely. And we got a photo with him. Yeah.
And I saw a list where he said that I think Heartland was like his favorite album ever.
It's in his Baker's Dozen. It was on the quietest list. So one of his top 13. One
of Brian Eno's top 13 albums. Owen Pallett.
Well, we kind of made it. It was kind of a trick. We actually. It was like a little bit of a trick. Me and Rusty was actually doing things when mixing that record. He said he had learned from Brian Eno, from reading Brian Eno interviews. So Rusty was putting in a lot of this Brian Eno catnip. And so we knew that when Brian Eno was going to hear it, he'd be like, oh, I love this. And it's like, yeah, well, we read the articles where you're talking about the things that you do that we like. And, yeah.
It's pure Eno bait.
Eno bait, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's my favorite term, for that particular kind of film that seems designed to win awards. Is
Oscar bait.
No, prestige core. Isn't that great?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And this also reminded me of another totally ridiculous story. Nick Drake's family contacted you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can tell from kind of what I'm playing here, I'm trying to, that I have a lot of slash fiction involving Nick Drake and Kevin Shields, right? Think about that for a while. You guys know what slash, never mind. So, yeah, no, in the last album, I was pulling out a lot of my Nick Drake adoring childhood, and because that was why I learned guitar, was because I love Nick Drake records and John Fahey records and John Renbourn and stuff like that. So yeah, I was kind of like really pulling from that. And Molly Drake was Nick Drake's mom, and was it her sister? I get it all confused. Yeah, but anyways, they had a relationship with Domino, and so they sent over the record to the Drake family, and then they sent me a book of Molly Drake's poems and a nice letter. It was really sweet. I posted it on Facebook. Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. And so we're gonna do one more song, and then I think we should perform one more thing.
Yeah, I can perform something more if you want.
Okay, so I'm gonna play one more song, which was a little bit contentious for you. So I'm just gonna put it on.
Yeah, I feel like I have much less to say about the, music theory content of these songs and more like interesting things about the production, Like I feel like we're really in the age of production right now, and all these songs you're playing have such busy, bouncy bass lines, like the Thundercat lobby is really working overtime.
Can I just say why I like this song, and you let me know what you think about that?
I really like Sabrina Carpenter, but I think this is real
like
bottom of the barrel material from her. Yeah.
So I love this song because the lyrics are so silly, and it's almost like an alien came down from another planet and just randomly saw a few words of English and was like, "That's what I'm gonna make this song."
I'm working late because I'm a singer. Isn't that the line?
Yes, I love that lyric because there's no correlation between being a singer and staying up late. But I do, in fact, stay up late, and I am a singer. So riddle me that. Right? I mean, it kind of makes sense in a weird way.
I don't like the way that
Dreamed it for you.
I don't know. I don't like brand nude it for you. That's
my give a fucks are on vacation. Like it's
that's pretty good.
It's ridiculous, and I think it's it really shows a sense of humor in a cool way. But and it's a huge hit, and I'm just wondering, like, why do you think it's popular? Because I think what I notice in a lot of pop songs in the last few years, there's been this idea of like, you know what, I've been to therapy and this is really my life experience, or like I dated this person, or like it's like very personal and it's supposed to be like very autobiographical or whatever. But then here she comes and she's just like, my give a fucks are on vacation.
Mm-hmm. It's not really in character. I actually don't know. Like, I remember there was some kind of online discussion going on, and that was one of the songs that was under discussion. Like, and I was just like, I don't know if I've heard that song. And I put it on. I was like, whoa, this is like not my favorite Sabrina Carpenter song. But you're making me like it more. Like, I did listen to it three times today, and the lyrics are charming. I think it's just the lyrics is what makes it good, I guess, because they are silly. I can't get over how she sings singer. like I said, it reminded me of Miranda Sings, you know.
Which is, if you
I
know
am
who
a
that is.
singer. You know who I'm talking about?
That's a huge burn if you know who that is. Yeah. So yeah, nothing really for Sabrina there.
No, but I love her. I love her other music. I was saying to you earlier that I was just like, I feel as if, you know, it was so amazing when Billie Eilish and Olivia Rodrigo were coming out, but also kind of strange that they were suddenly top of the charts everywhere on these debut records, and they were also teenagers. I was just like, what is going on here? And then a few years later, it's just like, oh, now it's like we've got the quadrilogy is complete, you know, of 25-year-old women making amazing pop music. Sabrina and Chapelle, and I've forgotten the other two.
Well, you just said them.
I know.
So it's all good.
Olivia and Billie, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, give it up for Owen.
Thanks.